And we are live. And
It's Saturday night. Sorry.
Yep, live. It's Thursday night. It's 9:20, and we are voting as a group if Doug should accept the buyout offer from Turn for YieldEx.
Was Turn the name of the company? I thought it was just like a turnkey offer. But
Turn appears to be the name of the company.
Oh, all right. Well, I say yes.
I say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no as well on that one. Betty, how about you?
I'm still deciding, but I think part of me, like, after reading the cases after, part of me wants to be more like saying yes, but really, I think he shouldn't.
Okay.
I just feel bad for the guy.
Well, Heather, why do you think you should?
It's just a personal preference.
Okay.
Like, I'm just thinking if it were me, I would say if you wanted to give me $2 million for this company who I don't have any personal money invested in, I don't have any of that, and like all it has is my time, which is valuable, but I don't know. I just feel like I would take the $2 million and be good and say later. But it's not a product or an industry that I'm particularly passionate about, so that's probably also why.
Makes sense for you.
All right, yeah. The interesting thing for me is that of that $2 million, he's going to be getting, he has to give back a lot of that money, not a lot of that money, but a decent portion of that money to the initial investors as well, and then from the preferred shares as well. So it'll be interesting to see how much he actually winds up with out of the $2 million. But yeah, the cash in hand nest egg offer does seem pretty attractive. Kent, why do you think he shouldn't accept the offer?
So I have that he's going to pad his investors. There are 3 of them, and they're each put in $100,000 each. And so each of them, I think, get double what they paid in, and there's also like 8% interest on that. And so, anyways, he's only going to get like $1.32 million.
That's still more than he has now.
Which is true. So he does receive the stock. So I was looking at what he would. Anyways, I kind of calculated down what I thought he would be getting in price per share to be selling out, and I have that it wasn't a very good round. He's not selling out for very much price per share, and I think he could make more money in the future. That was my logic behind it.
So basically, it's like almost like a time value of money thing, or a chicken and the egg, not chicken and the egg sort of thing, but more of a. You ever like you put a marshmallow?
It's a lottery payout.
Yeah, kind of. It's like you put a marshmallow in front of a kid, and you say, "Don't eat the marshmallow," and then if in 3 minutes you can have more marshmallows.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same concept. He can
Yeah.
make more money in the future. And I feel like the risk isn't that great. He could make a lot of money instead of just a little bit. Can't retire on just $1 million.
Not anymore.
No, that is true. For me, I pretty much had the same reasons Kenton did. It's definitely a longer play, especially if he gets into the Series B, Series C financing. The initial angel investors, their ownership dilutes fairly quickly. Even after Series A, they're only down to 6% ownership, and then if they go all the way out to Series 3 or Series C rather, that goes down to 2%. And then there's a lot of stock of what's his face? Jeez, there goes names. Doug, thank you. Will be able to capitalize on, because he'll come out of there with 4.1 million shares of stock. You know, and even at a price of 50 cents, you know, again, that's $2 million right off the bat. So yeah. Okay, so let's see. How much money will Doug receive? I think we kind of touched on that. Well, Kenton had the answers there for the buyout part. He'd wind up with 1.6 million, I think he said. Yeah.
I had 1.32 million.
1.32. Okay. All right. And was that calculating with the preferred stock return as well, or was that just the cash sale minus the investors?
That was just the cash sale. That didn't have any of the stock involved. That was just cash is what I was calculating.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I don't know what I was supposed to do.
So it's probably going to be a little bit less than that. Yeah, because he's got to give out 25% of the proceeds from the preferred shares. So scrolling up here. Trying to think what that would be.
He said, a cow's eating grass. And then, he said, do next. And I said...
Yeah, so how do you determine that? Do you just say, okay, so there is some cash and there is some equity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you pick which one is cheaper that you're going to, you give a little, how do you choose? Are you allowed to choose, or is it you have some on both?
So you get both. You get both cash and equity. It's a package deal, and basically the equity and the way it vests, like you can't immediately cash it all out. You have to generally vest over, say, in this case, I think it's 4 years, where it starts with 25%. You have to wait a year and you get 25% of the stock, and then over the next 3 years, or rather I should say over the next 36 months, because it vests monthly, you get a portion of the remaining 75%. So you're basically betting, you're getting the cash up front, which is good, but you're basically betting on the success of the company for the next year, whether it's bought out or is wildly successful. If the stock price goes up, goes down, you are able to vest your equity, relied on that number. I got a lot of that with both of the startups I've worked at, where I got not just a salary but also stock options at certain points in my tenure. Yes, I did.
Good for you. I hope they were really positive and give you a good return. That's like a dream of mine, too.
Yeah. No, the second startup that I'm at right now, they haven't vested yet. The first startup tanked right after the IPO. So it was a learning experience. I mean, I had no skin in the game, because I didn't buy the options, but it was like, oh, look at that. Wow. Yeah, we IPO'd at $22, and by the time my options vested, the share price was down to like $8.35 or something like that.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Did they go under completely, or were they able to recover?
They're still around, but they have a completely new executive team, and they've never. I think right now their stock price is maybe around 9 or 10.
Interesting.
I don't think they're ever going to see that 22 number again. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Sure. So let's see. How much does Shields deserve? So assuming that he brings Tom Shields on as a CEO, how much does Shields deserve? So let's see here. There's a series of questions. We're at bullet point 7. right now. So I guess let's just start off with the first sub question there. How much does Shields deserve? If he's brought on as the CEO, does he deserve to be made co-founder, or
Something what?
or
It's a thing.
or a lesser stake, and why?
I don't know what you mean. Something. Something.
And I can go first with that.
It's a thing, and I am making it.
I think bringing him on would
I need you to have some chill.
necessitate necessitate him being given the title of co-founder, specifically because he's bringing on. Well, for one thing, Doug's not interested in being a leader of people. He's more comfortable being in a CTO role and inventing product and what have you. Whereas Tom will be brought on to essentially run the show, basically, set the culture of the business. He's responsible to the board, and he's responsible for the big number that goes up, at the end of every month, quarter, and year, as far as revenue. So with that kind of risk that he's taking on, I feel that he should be named a co-founder. I've also seen real-world examples where technical founders have brought in business people to run the business side of their business after it's already been developed, and those people have been given co-founder status. So there's certainly a precedent for it, and I think Shields should follow that precedent.
I felt the same way as give him co-founder status as well.
I agree. I'm not sure if I would give him 50%, but I think he would be a good asset to the company.
I don't know that I'd give him co-founder status.
Why is that?
Well, again, this is just me, because I feel like if I went through all the trouble of putting together this company and funding it and finding people to fund it and invest in it and all of that, I feel like unless you were in the trenches with me, no, you don't get that title. And maybe that's just a prideful thing of myself, and I should work on that. But that's kind of how I see it right now.
Okay.
That's just me.
All right, that's fair. So I'm guessing probably 50% equity is a very high number for you then.
I would do 35.
Okay. Okay, cool. Good discussion. Next question is, why does Washing, so Washing is Doug's advisor here, why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn offer?
Maybe because he sees the potential the company has, I'm guessing. I mean, he sees what he can...
He sees a long-term...
Right, he's seeing the long-term picture and what he can bring to the table, and so...
Bring to the table in what way?
Well, as far as like you were mentioning, just like he's got this, he's got network connections, plus he's got like he's financing, and so he's just seeing like I think what he knows what he can do, and as far as being the CEO and stuff, help the company grow.
So this is Washing. He's the partner in the Sequel Ventures. He's not.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't.
Still talking about Shield. Never mind. So Washing, well, he invested into the company, right? So he's got, and he's the one, the advisor, right? Okay. Well, because they're both like Tom, so that's. But
yeah, they all have very generic white man names. Bob, Tom.
The case study will start talking about like last names, and then it'll refer to first names, and it was like, well, who is Doug again? Is that? And so I would have to like look back. So why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn? Well, Yeah, I mean, he invested into it, and I'm guessing he sees that the company can grow, and especially having Shields on board, he probably just wants to
Get a return on his investment.
right your return.
Yeah, his potential investment. So Sequel Venture would be leading the Series A round of funding. So that would essentially be from one of the exhibits would be around $2 million. And basically the way investment firms work for Series A is they're granted exclusive rights to sell the stock for companies. So basically, Washing's firm would be in control of the 400,000, however many shares of stock, at an initial price of 50, and he'd be able to purchase those price at 50 cents a share, but then immediately turn around and sell them on the stock market for however much money people are willing to pay for it. So he stands to if they go to market with the IPO, if he stands to make his firm and maybe himself too, since he's a partner, a significant amount of money. So I would say yeah, it's very personal for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk away when you have skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So won't Washington get a pretty good return on his investment? He will, but he'll get a crap ton more. Technical term.
You could say a buttload. That is actually a technical term
It
for
is,
an amount of wine.
Yes. How much does Washington give up if Doug gives Shields 50% of the equity? So this is.
I saw you, honey. I was there when you did it.
This one's that's a good one.
It is impossible for you to attempt chill.
So if Doug and Tom Shields split the initial ownership of the company, or the initial equity of the company 50-50, that gives Doug how much equity left? Did anybody get that far in number crunching? I think I may have missed that.
I didn't get that one either.
This is on number 6. This is the first bullet or the second bullet?
This is number 7, the final question. So there are like 5 questions in the line.
Okay.
I saw you. Believe it or not, I did see that.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
So let's calculate. It shouldn't be too hard to calculate, right?
No, I agree. Okay, so Sequel planned to buy out Washington's angel investment. Okay, so Washington did do an initial investment, so he's got one of the $100,000 in there. So he's got essentially at a Series A, he'd have 6% of the company.
Is the 50% something that all investors have to give a part of, or does it just come out of the what is buckets stock?
You just say what is
Or does it
bucket?
just create? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, if we go down to Exhibit 4, Angel A, I assume that's going to be Washing. No, wait, no, I'm sorry. Tom Washington's equal 156,667
That's nice.
for the conversion of a seed note without getting anything back. 4 million. So,
So he's gonna, if I understand that right, he's gonna make 75 grand more upon his investment if we sell out. If we, oh no, that's not right. Those are the investors.
well, let's see. Let's try it this way. If we go to, 8.3 million shares. He's got 0.06. That is for about 500,000 shares. So he's, essentially missing out on, whatever those common shares are if they go with a 50-50 split. So he's being shut out with, let's see here. With about half of what's left over for the employee option pool. And, yeah. It's really hard to guess because they don't have the share price.
Yeah, I know, right?
So...
Well, we're going on 50% of the founders' shares, or are we talking about 50% of the employee pool option? Which one are we referring to?
So Cosman and Shields each wind up with an equal split, and then the option pool is just created and set aside. So the Cosman and Shields would own 50% of the remainder, with the option of either surrendering those stocks to the employee pool later on to benefit their employees, or there could be a stock split later on down the line to also free up more options for employees.
Well, I think the question. So what we're trying to figure out, if I understand it right, is how much does Washington give up if Doug gives up 50% of the equity, right?
Right. Well, I think if Doug and Shields split 50%, that essentially washes out, no pun intended, Tom Washington's shares in the company.
Okay.
Since he's getting bought out anyways.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that looks to be like 800,000 shares. No, I was right the first time, 400,000 shares. So even still at, I guess that's a decent amount. So how much does Washington give up? In what unit of measure? Money? Can't determine. Shares? 6%. Okay.
So he gives up 6% of the equity?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the Series A would cover the other angel investments as well. Okay, can Doug use the turn offer to his advantage if he rejects it?
Yes.
I think so too.
What would you do though? I mean, what would be like guys, I can take this right now. I know you don't want it. So if I reject it, what do I get in return? Is that like appropriate to do in a business situation? And then the investors are like,
yes,
well, we'll give you more ownership. Like, what is a good outcome in this situation?
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Okay. You just have to be careful about how you do it. Like, you can't play this like Game of Thrones and say you give me what I want or I'm out and I'm gonna take most of the money. Like, you have to just be mindful of how you do it. I think there's a way to say, look, I have an out. It makes some sense for me to do it. My family, my wife would like me to do it. And, you know, if you guys can't work with me on some of this stuff, then I'm out. And I think if you're just reasonable about it, then you could probably leverage your way into some more ownership or some sort of better option.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. There would be a lot of I think the one offer from Turn is firm, but he can definitely use that to make the Series A round more flexible. I think also what else he has going in his favor is that Washington doesn't want him to take the Turn offer, so he's more likely than not willing to sweeten the pot for the Series A offer.
What does that even mean? Sweeten the pot?
Make it better.
Yeah, just make it better.
Give them more.
Well, I know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, where did the saying come from? Like, a long time ago, they had a pot and they put honey in it? Where did...
Probably, I would say the pot is, it's a gambling term by putting more money in a pool of money, to make it more attractive.
No. See, this is what happens when you never gamble.
I've never gambled.
Don't know any gambling terms.
It's okay. You'll be fine not knowing that.
So doesn't he end up using it to his advantage by being able to offer Shields less? Like Shields ended up taking 40% instead of 50%, or agreeing to 40%?
Well, I think he'd be able to, but let's see here. So
Can't even get it back.
We did agree.
Yeah, because on case B, there's he pretty much agreed. He's like, Shields had pressed Kaufman to turn down the offer, but that came with the price to Shields. Mm-hmm. He ultimately agreed to take 40% of the common, while Kaufman held out to the remaining 60%.
Yep. And then Kaufman then sold 20% of his common back to the company to take out some cash.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
So I guess he used it to his advantage.
Good for him.
Lexi, you're loud.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So moving on to.
I do care, honey, and I'm asking you to.
Case B. All right. Well, let's find out who this bar character is.
I was just singing to myself.
Yeah, Cosmo wanted to be the technical leader. Why don't we all just. Let's see. It's a 2-page case. 1.5 pages.
Oh, are we supposed to wait to read it?
Yes.
Oh.
It's okay. Oops. You'll be really.
Oh, I know. I read it like wait. I read both of it.
Give us a summary, and then we'll have to read it.
I know, right? Like I feel bad for the guy because I already know like what kind of happens. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cosman didn't want to lead people, but he wanted to lead the company. So they had agreed, and I remember this from Case A, they agreed to hire a vice president of engineering to kind of handle the people management portion of the engineering team. So as is sometimes the case with co-founders, there's a difference of opinion as to what a qualified candidate looks like. Cosman wants deep technical experience in internet advertising software, who would be able to quickly fit the YieldEx technology to systems already in use in the industry. Shields, however, wants somebody with good project management experience as it goes to small companies. So basically, it's which skill set can you teach more? Can you teach project management more easily, or can you teach internet advertising more easily?
Project management.
So that's where they are clashing. They met John Barr, who comes highly recommended from Tom Washing. Barr has a strong track record with multiple successful startups. He's been CTO at his last 2 companies, but was willing to join YieldEx as the vice president of engineering, reporting to Shields.
Okay.
Shields believed Barr was a good fit and he was ready to hire him, but Cosman was troubled by Barr's unfamiliarity with several of the key components of the YieldEx solution. He wondered how Barr could manage a software platform that he didn't fully understand. Cosman was also concerned that Barr seemed to be questioning the skills and output of some of the employees that he had hired. As Shields pulled up to the YieldEx offices, he thought about the implications of hiring Barr against Cosman's wishes. He was comforted by Washington's support of Barr, as he knew that Cosman respected Washington's perspective. Nevertheless, he wondered how Cosman and Barr would interact as the two leaders of the Boulder office, and how it would work when the 5 engineers that Cosman had hired began to report to Barr. He knew the group would have to work closely together in Boulder while he jump-started the sales and marketing efforts of the company out of the Bay Area. Cosman had architected the YieldEx software, and Barr would need his support to manage the team effectively. Shields respected Cosman's desire to keep looking at other candidates, but he needed to fill this position so he could refocus his own efforts, and he was impressed with Barr's credentials. Okay, so Barr falls under the product manager, or the project manager type of people manager, and not necessarily the familiarity with internet advertising. So, by show of hands, just none of us have our webcams turned on. Should Tom hire Barr, yes or no? And allow those who said yes to go first. So if you believe he should hire Barr, give a yes on 1, 2, 3. Yes. All right, so we're seeing a gender split again on the votes. Kent, why do you think Tom should hire Barr?
I think a good manager, it doesn't necessarily have to be the one to understand the really small details. A good manager can get people to do things and can get them to move forward, can be able to pull the best from his people. And that's not, it sounds to me like Tom, or it sounds to me like, what's his name, Barr?
Yeah.
Barr, yeah.
Barr, yeah, it sounds Barr, he can make it happen. And so that's why I think it'd be a great idea. I think we totally should go for it.
Mm-hmm. I think that for the same reasons, but also because this gives Doug an opportunity to mentor the new vice president of engineering. He realizes he's going to come in and be flexible. So this allows Doug to kind of flex his muscle, quote unquote, as the technical leader of the company, and kind of set the pace for the product. And along the way, you know, kind of not indoctrinate, but, you know, kind of steer Barr, you know, more towards his vision. I'd rather have somebody that knew how to manage people that I can steer towards the company culture and the company vision, rather than somebody that comes in and thinks they know more about internet advertising than myself, and might unconsciously want to take the product in a different direction.
Perspective, I like that.
Okay, Heather and Beatrice, you voted no.
Well, I think it would be easier to hire somebody to hire somebody else who has a project manager experience. But even if they have that, you can be a good leader and still utterly fail because you don't understand what you're leading. If he doesn't understand the industry, then how is he going to lead them into the right decisions? You can teach somebody to manage a project well, but in a relatively short amount of time. But it takes a long time to fully understand an industry to the point where you are comfortable leading a team. You know? And I've been in places where the boss had no experience in the industry, had no business really being a manager, and the only reason that he was in charge was because he was a people person and he managed people well. But because he didn't understand the industry, he did terrible and ended up getting fired because he didn't meet the goals that his bosses set for him.
Okay. Makes sense. Beatrice, how about you?
So for me, I guess it's a little bit of a lot of things.
Okay.
So I understand the fact that he's great at managing projects, which would benefit the engineering side of the company, I guess. But also, I think that, and this is me reading ahead. I read ahead, so and that basically Barr ends up firing the whole team of engineers that he had hired and doesn't agree with him. So I think with it, the culture, in a sense, it's like if they can't agree, then really how successful will they be? And also I think that if Cosman was already working with his engineers just fine, and he saw one of them had potential to lead and had considered putting him in this spot, I think that if they could have taught him those things that he needed, I think it would have been better in the end. Just because, like I said, I know what happens in the end. And then just personally, I think if I started a company and it's just control, I feel like we should have a big say. And I feel like Fields, although he has great recommendations, I think they're kind of taking away from him. I don't know, just kind of not respecting his wishes as much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I mean, business-wise, yeah, I think it'd be smart to get Barr on board. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So if you read ahead to case C, that 6 months later, 6 months after being hired, Barr wants to can Doug. Which is
That's a very short email, by the way.
It's a very...
Doug is disruptive. His salary is $170,000. He holds the title blah, which I should have. His team isn't functional. It's been replaced.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not cool. And honestly, from a cultural standpoint, and this is kind of, okay, so should Tom fire Doug? Well, what does do the right things for the company mean? He wants Doug fired. Should Tom fire Doug? I'm going to say no. Does YieldEx need Cosman anymore? Probably, even though they already have his algorithm. That's his culture and his vision that they're buying into. They're not just buying into the product. There's a lot more than that. How could Doug have avoided getting into this situation?
Not hiring Barr.
Well, there's not hiring Barr, but also if he sees that Barr is making wholesale changes to his team, and Shields, I'm sorry, not Shields, but Cosman reports, or I'm sorry, Barr reports to Cosman. So therefore, if Cosman is seeing Barr making all these wholesale changes, Cosman needs to, reevaluate Barr's position in the company and, what exactly he's trying to achieve. And if it turns out, at the end, then that he's, trying to create his own little fiefdom by changing the engineering culture, which, you laugh, but I've seen this happen.
Throwback Thursday over here.
Yeah. If he's trying to do this, then he should have been gone 90 days ago. So
yeah, you should be watching him better.
There's buyer's regret, and then there's or maybe I was going to say maybe the other possibility is just management by abdication. I mean, Doug didn't want to lead people, so maybe he is maybe he's just kind of off to the side, letting, with his head in the sand, letting Barr do the, do whatever. But yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Barr would be reporting to Shields. So
Yeah, I thought it was,
okay,
yeah.
you're right. So that's another mistake I think that Doug made. You know, VP of Engineering should report to the CTO, regardless, because you got to have unified cycle in there. So the whole reporting structure is messed up. Barr was allowed to run wild because I think Shields was probably more than content to let Barr, you know, run his show out there so he could get the marketing and business development functions up. In a completely different state. They're not even in the same office, so there's really not a lot of personal oversight, it seems, from Shield to Barr. So yeah.
So I just saw it, I guess I got really personal, but I just saw it as like they liked his idea. They had tried or saw, like, didn't it say something like they had tried? Shields came out with a paper. They liked the idea. He actually found a solution. So I just feel like they liked his idea and they wanted to take it from him. And so the smartest thing for him would have been, like, I feel like everybody was in it for themselves. And so that's where I feel like Doug should have been in it for himself and just taken the money when he could.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because then, I mean, I don't know if he ends up getting a good chunk, if they do fire him, if they.
Right.
But
Right.
it just means that he kind of had this vision, and it's like being taken over.
Yeah, exactly. So, just playing devil's advocate, can anybody name a company where a founder of the company was eventually fired for the good of the company and while it was still in growth mode like this?
It happens more often than you think. It's actually common.
Yeah.
There's a very famous case of Apple.
And I was gonna say, didn't Steve like get fired from that?
Yeah, Steve Jobs got fired. I think at that point he was CEO, and then Apple went in the tank. And then they brought him back. He completely revamped, and he was wildly successful. So, you know, I think the situation's a little bit different on the details, but you know, it's certainly not without precedent where the founder of a company gets let go for myriad reasons.
Well, I mean, founders are often the ones that can like make something out of nothing.
Right.
And they have the skills to grow something, but yet to manage and to like take it to the next huge level and going corporate and things like that. That becomes a different skill set altogether, and so it's fairly common.
Well, and clearly he was lacking some of those, you know, skills that he needed for. So he did need the help, but I don't know. I guess I just see it more like, man, if I were to start a company and then I get fired from it.
It's really an emotional, terrible experience, I bet.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure, like you guys said, it happens a lot more than what we think.
Usually it's like, we're going to ask you to step down. It's not necessarily like, you're fired, but it's, and oftentimes it's, you still have your ownership in different things, that you just are asked to be a silent role or to not participate anymore.
So do you still keep your stock, your shares, like on the company?
Depends
or
on the contract.
Yeah,
okay.
it does depend on the contract. Generally, you keep whatever's vested, but also there is generally when it's different when an executive gets let go from a company. I mean, they don't just get, you know, here's your box, pack up your office and leave. There's generally a lot of negotiations involved when a C-level executive exits the company.
Interesting.
I have a question that's not necessarily on topic, but is it okay if I ask it? It's similar to on topic.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So, how does with employee stock options, I've always wanted to be like, oh, I'd love to own some ownership in the company, but most places I've gone and looked at are like, we don't have for that. No, we don't give that service. So why do these companies that we read about offer that opportunity, which is a great opportunity for the employees, but why do a lot of companies I see now not even offer it or even consider that as, no, they just want to keep as much ownership as they can and don't care to give it to employees?
So
Because they don't want to give it to employees.
Well, I think it goes a little bit more towards the size of the company and the industry that the company's in. So generally, smaller tech companies are more willing to pay in stock options because that incents the employees to work a little bit harder for the quote-unquote big payoff later on. So I think it's kind of a cultural thing for tech companies. Larger companies will give stock awards, but it's not as it's not as common. Like for example, I worked for Intuit a few years ago, and they they were a very well-established company when I joined them. So my initial salary didn't include X per year and stock options. Rather, the stock options were awarded as part of an employee purchase program. So basically, once every calendar year, we were able to purchase shares of stock in Intuit at a discounted price, essentially. And then we were also given stock awards as bonuses in certain times. Whereas the last two startups I've worked at, they were both very young companies. Within the first 3 or 4 years of them being founded, I received an annual salary and stock options immediately when I started there. Basically, since there were so few employees, and when I joined both companies, there were under 300 employees. And for the company I'm at right now, I was employee number 93. So still very, very early on in the life of the company. So while they obviously paid a salary and what have you, they knew that we were making an investment in the company as much as they were making an investment in me as an employee, as it were. And also tying the stock options to a vesting cycle. So my options don't vest for another 4 years. Well, not another 4 years, but my options vest 4 years afterwards. But if I quit, I lose unvested options. So that also commits me to staying with the company if it lasts 4 years after my date of hire to to stay there and continue to do quality work because I'm still invested in that company being successful, whether or not it eventually IPOs or if it's acquired by another company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's informative.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is that all the questions?
That is all the questions.
Woohoo!
We made it. We made it. And if you want to see how things shook out, you can go to Bloomberg.com and look up YieldEx on there. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see some of the names on there. Anyways, something to say about that. I will, as soon as I get the link, I will post it into the discussion board.
Sweet.
On the case, because that seems to be easier for everybody. And that's it. Have a good weekend, and we'll come together on Tuesday. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.